everybody, this is Nate with another Backcountry beer review. Today I'm on the Capitan Mountains High Point in southeastern New Mexico near the town of Capitan. And I'm here with a fellow YouTuber, Travis T. This is a beautiful New Mexico P2K. That's a peak of 2,000 feet or more of prominence. You can tell it's a wonderful fall day. The temperature, despite the fact that I'm wearing kind of like a sweater, the temperature is pretty warm. I'm guessing right now it's already in the lower 70s and we're more than 10,000 feet up. So it's gonna be probably pretty brutal closer to sea level down in Capitan and Carrizozo. You could tell looking around that there's some great views, but they're all kind of obstructed by trees. However, right, behind me over here, if you really squint, you can see Guadalupe Peak, which is the highest point in Texas. It kind of gives you an idea of how far southeast we are in New Mexico. Also, a cool fun fact about this peak, or these mountains rather, is that these are the mountains where Smokey the Bear was rescued from. And well, a bear was rescued and then they bestowed on it the title of Smokey the Bear. Obviously, Smokey the Bear is world famous now. Anyway, enough of that rambling. Beer I'm reviewing today by Tumbleroot Brewery and Distillery in Santa Fe, New Mexico is their Sour Brown Ale. It is aged in French red wine barrels. So let's read the bottle. It says, barrel-aged Sour Brown Ale series, aged in French wine barrels with Brettanomyces, Copenhagen, and Lactobacillus delbrueckii. I think that's how you pronounce that. Tumbleroot, I reviewed them once before, back in, I want to say it was 2021, summer 2021. I reviewed their Sunrise Japanese Lager on the top of Trampas Peak in the Pecos Wilderness. So it was weird to me because I felt like that review was so recent, but it's been over 2 years ago. It's crazy that it's been that long since I last reviewed a Tumbleroot beer. I generally like Tumbleroot's beer. I think that it's very good. I like their tap room. It's within walking distance of my house, so I like to walk there, have a few beers, walk home, get some exercise. Let's open it up, give it a taste. I forgot a bottle opener, so I kind of had to bang this thing against a rock to open it up. So sorry I didn't catch it on film. It wasn't very exciting. Let's take a sip. This is a really fantastic beer. If you're not used to obviously, I think the trend has kind of died down a little bit, the sour beer trend. If you don't know that much about beer, there's basically two kinds of sour ales. There's kind of like what you could call a kettle sour beer. So a lot of the sour trend is kind of declining a little bit. I don't see quite as much at breweries or on the shelves at stores. But a lot of the sours you'll see are kettle sours where they add some lactobacillus early on in fermentation to kind of get a quick sour. With those beers, they tend to be they tend to have a lot less depth of flavor. They tend to be very one note, very sour, puckering sour, I think. Not really kind of like a more aged vinegary type sourness, more like a just lemon juice sourness. And then you have, I guess, kind of sours that are more in like the natural fermentation sour realm. Things like Flanders red ales and stuff. Duchess du Bourgogne is a classic beer in this style. Those beers tend to be, they basically get their sourness by being aged for a long time, and that allows the natural yeasts or more wild strands of yeast to kind of take over, and that introduces this sourness with a really intense depth of flavor. So this is all basically a way to tell you that this is in the latter camp. This is more of that like Flanders red family of sours that has this such intense depth of flavor and is almost to the point where it's even kind of hard to classify it as a beer, really, with just how unique this flavor profile is. To kind of zero in on these notes I'm getting a lot of raisin, to contradict what I said earlier, I'm getting a lot of lemon juice. It's almost like raisins soaked in lemon juice. If you've ever made those, a lot of times for like cakes and stuff, to kind of moisten up the raisins, you soak them in lemon juice. It gives them this nice like tart but sweet flavor. Kind of gives them this almost fresh flavor. Kind of getting that note for sure. I'm getting this like woodsiness, this almost like woodsy, almost balsamic vinegar type note, and I mean that in the best possible way. I'm getting some white grape for sure, even though it's aged in red wine barrels. The red wine flavor does come through. I would say in the initial taste, you kind of get that almost like tannic flavor that you get when you drink a tannic red wine. And then certainly on the finish, that's where I'm picking up a lot more of what I would call that red wine flavor, that woodsy tannicness that kind of like pucker you up. Not even bitterness, because tannins aren't bitter. They just like almost want to like suck the moisture from your mouth. I'm getting that. I'm getting some like some red fruit like raspberry. I'm getting maybe some like tobacco, kind of in that like red wine realm. To go back a little bit in the middle, I think I'm definitely picking up like this fresh strawberry flavor. I'm also getting, it's certainly not a sweet beer. It's probably off dry, I'd say, but I'm almost getting this like powdered sugar. Just this like, yeah, this confectioner sugar sweetness, this confectioner sugar, almost like the mouthfeel is a little bit more viscous than like a typical beer. Really, I mean, there's not enough I can say about this beer because it's got such complex flavors and it's really good, really enjoyable. I definitely recommend you try it. Yeah, so cheers, and have a backcountry beer for me.